name's Tessa and I'm a short course trainer at the National Institute of Circus Arts. Some of the classes that I usually teach are aerial preparation and aerial hoop, and I'm now officially an osteopath, so this topic makes me super excited. I can finally give this class. Today I'm going to be teaching an evidence-based approach to stretching. So I'll show you some of the most efficient ways to stretch to maximize your results, as well as show the different ways to maintain strength, how long to hold stretches for, and the different types of stretching that you can do to help increase your range of motion, particularly for those muscles that just really don't want to stretch. This class is suited to all levels of bendiness, from contortionists to people who just want to be able to sit comfortably in a straddle or even just crossed legs. Before we start, let's make sure the space we're working in is safe. So you need a clear space of about 3 meters by 3 meters. Make sure you're not too close to the telly or the windows. And you'll need a mat, a towel, a scarf, or like one of those yoga straps to help you stretch. That's what this is. And a water bottle. So first we're going to do just a really quick warm up to get the muscles firing. Let's get started. Okay, so before we start, let's do a bit of a warm up. So knees up. So this class isn't all about, a hardcore stretch. It's literally just teaching you ways that you could stretch in the future. So you don't need to be mega warmed up. Warmed up enough to be able to move through movements. So knees up nice and high. Pushing through your toes. Okay, and star jumps. Okay, and kicking your bottom. Okay, and now when you want to stretch and warm up, you also want to warm up those joints, as if you've watched my other videos I'll be explaining. So yeah, let's warm up our joints as well. So rotating. So this warms up our spine because our muscles attach onto our joints and bone, and so it will actually help us stretch as well. Warm up the ligaments, warm up the tendons, warm up the joints, and it will help you get further in your stretching and just prevent injury as well. Okay, and down towards the ground. So here we're just warming up our joints in different planes of motion, because obviously your joints can move in different directions, so there's no point warming up on one level if you're going to move in all different levels. Same with stretching, which you'll hear from me soon enough. Oh, I've got so much to tell you. I'm trying not to word vomit right now. Let's just focus on the warm-up, then I can educate everything about it later. Warming up our wrists, and the other way. Okay, and let's stretch up our chest. So swinging your arms back, other arm comes up and pulls back that way. So stretching out the front of your chest. Okay, and let's do some shoulder rolls. Here's what I'm going to tell you because I'm just thinking of it now. So if you get really tight muscles, like neck muscles and things, especially if you're sitting at a desk all day and, forwards and you get a headache up here, instead of stretching, because it feels like everything's super tight already, it's sometimes good to do these rolls instead of stretching that muscle even longer, because it's already on stretch, because it's trying to pull your shoulders back, it's always engaged. So by lengthening it even more, you're actually just lengthening your muscles that are already lengthened and just is tight like a drum skin. So if you roll your shoulders around, you're actually like resetting your posture, kind of. Like you basically go into a different position and it allows your muscles to relax off a bit, and it might be more efficient than like doing one of these stretches. Fun fact. Okay, and knees up, and let's pulse. Nice one. And up and down, straight, stay in the burn zone. That's it, and maybe you want to move side to side. Warm up different fibres of those muscles. Again, you've got to move in the different planes of direction. Warm up slightly different muscles, because when you're moving, you're obviously not just moving in one direction, so you want to be able to warm up all the muscles from different, like maybe if you lean forward, you're using more of the muscles at the front of you, or if you lean backwards, maybe using more of the muscles. It would actually be opposite. If you lean back, you use more of the muscles at the back, the front. But you know what I mean? I don't know if you do. I don't know if I'm just rambling. Okay, so that feels like enough of a warm-up for me for us to be able to just do some simple stretches. So basically there are 3 main types of stretching. Okay, I'm going to come a bit forward so you can see my face. So, dynamic stretching, which is basically where you stretch whilst moving and activating the muscle. Passive stretching, which is when you're just sitting in a stretch, like the classic splits or something. Dynamic is things like a leg swing. And then there's something called PNF stretching, or us osteos, it's slightly different, but us osteos say MET, muscle energy technique. And that's basically us pushing into a barrier, activating the muscle, letting it relax and and it gives you a bit more of a stretch. I'll go through it all. But there are different times to use each of these different stretches. Also, right at the start, disclaimer, I'm saying it's research-based. Depends where you get your research from. There is so much research out there, so many difference of opinions. I'm just giving what I've read, my opinion. Yeah, so if you've heard something different, chances are there are other theories out there to stretches, but I'm just giving you what I know from the research that I've seen. So, also jury's out on a lot of things as well. Evidence is constantly getting updated. They could have a completely new stretch, a couple of years' time, that they say it's the wonder thing that will make you turn into a contortionist. So, dynamic stretching. We generally do that if we're going to do a really explosive or like strength-based workout. So you do this for a warm-up to stretch the muscles. Like if you were about to go, do like a strength circuit, or maybe if you were about to do strength and conditioning on the trapeze or the tissue or something, or even on the floor, tumbling, I would say dynamic stretching is the way to go, because research has shown that you don't lose muscle power or as much muscle power. So you keep your strength. If you do passive stretching, you might be a bit weaker because everything's lengthened, muscles are a bit more relaxed and loose, basically. So I know it's very traditional to do a passive stretch at the start of your circus class, or before you do all your circus moves. It's kind of difficult because a lot of circus moves involves a high amount of flexibility. But if you can do a dynamic stretch at the start, you will still be able to do all your strength things and your muscles will be firing and ready to go. Okay, so dynamic. So that's things like leg swings. We all know leg swings. So things, pretend I'm holding onto something. So things like this is dynamic. Leg swings like this, or you can do them sideways. But dynamic stretching is even things like what we did here. It's just moving through it. So instead of just sitting and holding this, you might move through it like that and just constantly move through them. Yeah? So that's dynamic. Or maybe you're sitting in a straddle, and instead of just coming down to hold that passively, so there's no movement, maybe you're going to do a dynamic one move your arms up and down like this, because you're activating the muscles. And so they're getting a stretch, but they're activating, and they're just not going to be lengthened so much that you don't have as much strength behind you. Because obviously if you're about to tumble, you want to be as explosive as you can. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. Things like this, like rather than just holding like that, maybe you want to swing from side to side like that. Okay, so it's like a short amount of time on stretch and activating things at the same time. Okay, another thing to think about, you can get creative. Like honestly, you can get any stretch you want, you know. Maybe you can do a lunge. Instead of just holding the lunge, go back and go into the lunge. Yeah, like that. So you just literally move through the movements. But another layer on top of that, like how I was saying in warm up, you don't want to just warm up in one plane of motion. You want to move up in all different planes of motion, because when you're hurdling or something, you won't necessarily just do that range of motion. Maybe you'll go off to the side and lunge that way. So you have to be able to warm up that portion of your muscle that it puts more stress on. So when you do this, maybe you're going to lean out to the side a bit. Maybe you're going to go in towards a bit. And then you're going to go front as well. Okay? Or maybe you're going to just do lunges, putting your foot in different planes of motion, because it will warm up slightly different areas of muscle. Okay? Again, you can do that with any of the different stretches. Just try and get creative with it. Yeah, and that will really warm up your muscles, warm up your joints, ligaments, and get you stretched whilst also not diminishing that strength. Okay, so that's dynamic flexibility. So to be honest, anytime, like if you were going to do a tissue, if you're going to do tissue and you knew you didn't need much leg muscle, but you wanted a really good split, maybe you would do some static splits and stuff before you did your class, but maybe you would just do dynamic arm strengthening things because you knew you had to use your arm muscles. So you can mix and match. Okay, circus is different. You do need to do some really big stretches to have a great split or have a really good back arch. But yeah, maybe we start moving more towards the dynamic end before doing any strengthy stuff. Next, passive stretching. So that is your classic circus stretching, okay? So that is you getting into, onto your tummy, moving up into a back up bridge like this. Sorry, not a back bridge. Arching your back like this and holding it. Nothing wrong with that. Passive is really great to increase flexibility. It works, obviously, that's why so many people do it. Gymnasts do it. Yeah, circus people do it. Anyone has to be flexible. Passive stretching is huge. You've seen what the rhythmic girls look like. Yes, they do a lot of dynamic stretching as well, but they also do a lot of passive stretching. It's because it literally does lengthen. Although jury's out whether it actually lengthens your muscle. It just increases your range of motion. It's safer for me to say. Research is showing you want to hold it between 60 to 90 seconds or until you feel a tissue texture change. So basically, it would take forever if you held every stretch for 60 to 90 seconds, but maybe the main ones, things like splits or maybe straddle and leaning forwards, 60 to 90 seconds is a good amount of time to hold it for, because I get so many people asking me how long they should hold a stretch for. Realistically, I don't hold it for that amount of time. I get bored, unless they're really big ones like a straddle or, yeah, splits. Then I will hold it for that amount of time, maybe even longer sometimes, because that's when you will get that tissue change. Yeah, so static stretching, yeah, passive, yeah, so static stretching, you're just really just holding a position. You can do anything, things like this, and you're just holding it and feeling the muscle lengthening. A really useful thing to do with static stretching, so I've called it passive, static, interchangeable, is if you can use your breathing with it. So if you can breathe in and then as you breathe out, try and relax the muscle that you're stretching and feel it lengthen. that really assists with how much tissue change you get. I keep wanting to say lengthen it. And I know if any other people who know this research knows it, they're going to be coming at me being like, it doesn't change the length. So I'm going to try and avoid saying it. It's just easy to say, you know. So if you breathe in here, and then as you breathe out, you try and go a little bit further. So try and really incorporate breathing with your stretching, especially if you've got a yoga background, you know how helpful this can be. You can do it with any stretches, but breathing really helps you to relax and just let go and go with the stretch. Okay, so I don't think we'll go through all different types of passive stretches because there's so many different types, and this is more about educating you on the types of stretches you can do. So sorry, this is more informative, I guess. But then once you know it, you can use it in all your future workouts. It's so handy to know. I love it. This is my jam. As you can tell probably from the massively bulging eyes. So lastly, PNF stretching or MET stretching, basically, I'm pretty sure PNF is proprio-neuromuscular facilitation. MET is muscle energy technique, and it's basically where you resist against something and then relax. So, for example, if you, again, straddle. So, if you wanted to get better at a straddle, what I would do, I need to try and lengthen these muscles. So what I would do is I would push into the ground, just gently. You want to push into the ground like 10 to 15% and then relax, and you should be able to go a bit further. Push into the ground, resist, 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 relax, and you should be able to go a bit further. This one does take a bit longer to wrap your head around. Don't stress if you don't get why you're pushing your legs into the ground. Just remember, for this one, straddle, if you want to get a better straddle, pushing into the ground, then relaxing. This is for anyone who just feels like their stretches aren't really getting anywhere. You know how sometimes you can just feel like you're just not getting anywhere when you stretch, like you're just sitting in it and nothing's doing anything and you just feels like a waste of time? This is a great one to do. So particularly maybe super stiff boys, you know, doing these ones, bring your legs in a bit further, push into the ground and then relax. So basically what this does is it resets basically your muscle. If you push into it, it resets the muscle, like your brain forgets how long that muscle is meant to be, and it resets it and it just relaxes it into a new length. So yeah, you're tricking your brain into lengthening the muscles, basically. It works with so many things, like if I wanted to do a pec stretch, so say I've got a wall here, right, and I wanted to stretch my pecs. If I pushed into it, so pushed into the wall, so I'm activating the muscle that I want to stretch. I should have said that before. PNF, you're activating the muscle you want to stretch. So I want to activate my pecs, so I'm going to push into the wall, it's activating, and then I relax, and I should be able to stretch my pecs even further. So push in, relax, and stretch it further. People in circus might have done this with partner stretching. So like you got, if they were in the splits, you know, and they're pushing on their leg, and you push up into them, and then you get further, that's PNF stretching. Same thing, you can do it with anything. For example, my feet don't bend very much, like I don't get my knees over my toes, so I want to try and increase how much I can flex my feet, because this will help me with tumbling. It just helps squatting, all sorts of things. So I want to get more flexibility in my ankles. I'm going to do PNF stretching. So this is where this comes in handy if you want. So I would push against it. So I'm trying to push into the ground and hold it, and you do it for maybe 5 seconds, and then you relax, and I should be able to bend my foot even more. So then push again, push, 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 4, 5, relax, and I should be able to bend even more. Okay? So you can literally do it for all different muscles. You can get creative with it. It's a super handy one to have. You could do it with straddle. This one would be good. Here, push into the ground, but again, gently. You don't want to pull a muscle, you know? Wait, let's make sure I'm in the shot. So push your knees into the ground, trying to activate my adductors because they're the things we're trying to stretch. Relax, and you should be able to go a bit further. So you want to do it maybe 3 to 5 times, about 5 seconds each. Okay? You can do it with splits. You could, like, you go into your splits and then push up and push up, and then as you relax, you get further into it. Okay, so you push against the ground and relax down. That's an excellent one if maybe you're in oversplit, or maybe you haven't quite got the splits, you're just a little bit off the ground. Push your legs into the ground, activate the adductors, and then as you relax, you should be able to get a bit further. It's one of those things that really, really helped me get my split. Yeah. As far as partner stretching goes, I personally wouldn't recommend it, like doing PNF with someone, just because they can't feel how your muscle is feeling. Like, they don't know what your back limits are, and it's easier for you to get injured. So I personally would do it on myself, trying to resist the ground, because then I can control how hard I'm pushing and how far I'm getting my muscle. But that's just personal opinion. I know other people who love partner stretching. Just bear in mind that you can't feel what that person's muscle is feeling, so just it's better to back off rather than going really hard. Yeah, so they're the different types of stretches. So if you've got any questions about any of this, just pop up under the comments. As you can tell, I'm super passionate about it. If there's a certain muscle that you're really stuck in, like you just can't get it, like sometimes some people's adductors, which is the inside of your leg, like just don't go, then let me know and I can maybe send you a picture of an exercise that's really good for that sort of thing. Also, instead of stretching, you can always just use a ball or a foam roller. That literally stretches the tissue fibers as well. So it's a different type of stretch which you can do as well. Really good for recovery as well. Good for lengthening specific muscles. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Yeah, send me a message if you're curious about certain things or have any questions about stuff. I love talking about it. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. Yeah, if anything was confusing, do let me know. Okay, I was rambling a bit. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it.